The girl never spoke to anyone, but that day she stopped in front of the injured dog, and when they saw what she took out of her backpack, everyone froze. No one in the bustling city park seemed to notice the thin, trembling figure limping near the far bench. The dog's fur, once perhaps light brown or golden, was now matted and dark with dirt. A small wound on its hind leg, red and swollen, made it painful for the animal to take more than a few steps. Passers-by hurried by, lost in their own concerns, ignoring the desperate creature. Maybe they were used to seeing stray dogs around, or maybe they just chose not to see. On that late afternoon, as the sun began to descend behind the tall buildings, the quiet dog finally collapsed on a patch of withered grass, exhaustion overcoming its fear. At a nearby playground, children shouted and chased each other, their laughter echoing across the open space. Parents scrolled through their phones or chatted, sometimes scolding kids who ventured too far. Yet no one spared more than a cursory glance for the injured dog. In that park, neglect seemed to be the norm, an unspoken pact to leave behind any creature that didn't fit into the hurried rhythm of the city. But beneath the bright chatter and mechanical routines, an unexpected moment of empathy was about to unravel. The shy girl who would change everything was almost invisible herself, overshadowed by louder voices and faster footsteps. Her name was Lily, and she was 12 years old, slender and timid, often found with her nose buried in a library book. This particular afternoon, Lily had no intention of doing anything remarkable. She had come to the park with her older sister, who was busy chatting with friends near the fountain. Wandering away from the noisy group, Lily noticed the lonely dog crumpled on the grass. First, she slowed her pace, uncertain whether to approach. A swirl of anxiety fluttered in her stomach, the same she felt whenever she had to speak in public at school. Yet something in the dog's gaze, a silent plea, tugged at her heart. She glanced around, expecting at least one adult to intervene. But the world seemed to move on with practiced indifference. Joggers brushed by without a word. Couples strolled arm in arm, ignoring the small shape on the ground, and an ice cream vendor moved his cart along without a second look. Lily took a deep breath, summoning the courage she rarely found when classmates teased her or teachers put her on the spot. Step by step, she approached the wounded dog. Its eyes flickered with both caution and hope. The swollen leg looked painful, and Lily couldn't bear the thought of leaving it alone, uncertain of the final outcome. That day, she decided to act. It wasn't a grandiose act. Lily simply crouched down, speaking in a voice barely above a whisper. "Hey, little one, don't be scared." The dog gave a small whimper, flinching as she extended her hand. Shivering, it tried to stand, but collapsed again. A pang of empathy flooded Lily's chest. Quietly, she took off her thin jacket, placed it around the dog to keep it warm, and gently stroked its neck. To passers-by, it might not have seemed like much, just a timid girl bending over a stray dog. But for that dog, Lily's presence was a lifeline. For Lily herself, it was the bravest thing she had ever done. News of Lily's small gesture spread slowly, beginning with a young mother who paused to watch. She told her daughter, who then pointed and tugged at her father's shirt, urging him to help. A bystander rummaged for a phone number of a local shelter, uncertain if they would come. Another person reminded the group about a nearby veterinarian's clinic, though none volunteered to walk there. Meanwhile, Lily stayed at the dog's side as though afraid that if she moved away, the world's apathy would swallow it again. She apologized softly each time she accidentally brushed the dog's injured leg, tears burning at the corners of her eyes. She had never felt so responsible for a life before. Her older sister, Amanda, finally realized Lily wasn't nearby and arrived with mild annoyance. "What are you doing?" she demanded, flicking a glance at the dog. Seeing Lily's determined expression, Amanda's scolding softened, replaced by concern. "We have to help it. Lily insisted, voice trembling. Amanda hesitated, torn between exasperation and a sudden wave of protectiveness for her shy younger sibling. In that moment, a quiet resolve passed from Lily to Amanda. "All right," Amanda relented, pulling out her phone. "I'll call Mom, and maybe she can take us to a vet." Lily's relief was palpable. She gently petted the dog's ear, whispering, "Hang on, okay? We'll figure this out." It was the kind of promise she intended to keep. The park's onlookers began gathering in small clusters, curiosity piqued by Lily's unwavering stance. Some offered advice, others offered only opinions. A tall man in a business suit complained it was pointless, that street dogs came and went. An elderly woman, her cane tapping softly against the pavement, scolded him for such callousness. Two teenage boys brought a bottle of water, uncertain of how else to help. Gradually, a sense of collective concern emerged, ignited by one shy girl who refused to turn away. Yet beneath it all, Lily felt the rising tension of time. The dog's breathing was labored, and the wound on its leg was turning an alarming shade. They needed professional care, fast. When Lily's mother finally arrived, eyes wide with apprehension, she found her youngest daughter kneeling on damp grass, that thin jacket draped protectively over the trembling dog. "Oh my goodness," she murmured, phone in one hand, car keys in the other. Lily looked up, tears glistening. "We can't leave it, Mom. Please." Though typically pragmatic and cautious, her mother saw the conviction shining in Lily's tear-streaked face. "All right," she agreed, voice unsteady. "We'll take it to the nearest clinic, but we have to be very careful." With Amanda's help, Lily's mother gently lifted the injured dog into the back seat of their small car. The dog whimpered, but didn't resist. A new chapter was beginning for all of them. If this story has captured your heart so far, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. We're about to explore how a single compassionate act can ripple through an entire community. In the next chapters, we will follow Lily's journey as she struggles to find the courage she thought she lacked, meets new friends with big dreams, and battles obstacles determined to stand in the way. We'll also discover just how deeply one small dog can touch the lives of those who risk caring in an indifferent world. Sometimes the quietest voices are the ones that roar the loudest when fate demands it. Stay with us, and don't miss the unfolding tale of how a shy girl and an injured stray united a neighborhood. Because often hope arrives in the unlikeliest shapes, reminding us that every living being deserves a chance at kindness. Let's see what awaits Lily, her newfound friend, and everyone willing to open their hearts. Share this story if it moved you, and inspire more kindness. At the veterinarian's office, Lily hovered close to the exam table as the doctor checked the stray dog's swollen leg. The room smelled of antiseptic and faint animal odors, an oddly comforting mix that reminded Lily of a place where help could finally be given. Her mother stood by the door, arms crossed, torn between worry about the expense and concern for her daughter's emotional state. Amanda tried to look calm, but her restless tapping on the tile floor betrayed how uneasy she felt. The veterinarian, Dr. Moreno, was a middle-aged woman with a soothing voice that carried a quiet authority. She ran gentle fingers over the dog's matted fur, then examined the wound with a practiced hand. Lily leaned in and stroked the dog's neck. Although it trembled, the animal stayed still as though it understood that these humans were trying to heal, not harm. "This leg needs proper cleaning and some stitches," Dr. Moreno explained, turning to Lily's mother. "I'll run an X-ray to see if there's any fracture. The infection is already setting in, so we'll need antibiotics. It's a fair bit of treatment." She paused, reading the tension on the mother's face. "I understand this was unexpected. If you decide not to proceed, the city shelter might—" "No!" Lily exclaimed before she could stop herself. Dr. Moreno lifted an eyebrow, and Lily felt color rising to her cheeks. She took a deep breath, determined not to fold under the weight of adult decisions. "We have to help," she said more softly, looking at her mother with pleading eyes. "I can't just leave it like this." Amanda stepped forward, resting a hand on Lily's shoulder. "Mom, it won't be that bad, right? Maybe we can manage. I'll help pay some of the cost with my weekend job." There was a subtle tremor in Amanda's voice, as though even she was surprised by her own offer. But the memory of Lily crouched in the park beside that wounded dog still weighed on her. Their mother inhaled slowly, calculating how to stretch the family's budget. Although she hated saying no to Lily, money was undeniably tight. Yet as she looked at her youngest daughter, so uncharacteristically firm in her stance, she realized the significance of this moment. Lily was shy, hesitant, often overshadowed by the louder personalities around her, but something about the dog had awakened a spark of courage she rarely showed. "All right," she said at last, her tone resigned but also touched by pride. "We'll do what it takes, but let's make sure we understand the costs and we'll figure something out." Relief flooded Lily. She ran a gentle hand over the dog's ears, whispering, "You'll be okay. We'll take care of you." The dog's eyes closed for a second, as though it needed that tiny moment of reassurance just as much as Lily did. Dr. Moreno allowed herself a small smile at the girl's devotion. She had seen many stray dogs abandoned in this same clinic, carried by well-meaning folks who quickly balked at the price of care. This felt different. There was a sincerity in Lily's expression that went beyond ordinary pity. Once the cost estimate was arranged and the necessary forms signed, the vet tech led the dog away for a quick sedation and x-ray. Lily's mother began to discuss payment options with the receptionist, the lines of worry still etched on her forehead. Amanda gave Lily a playful nudge. "You're braver than I thought, kid. A year ago you would have run away from a bark." Lily shrugged, a shy grin creeping onto her face. She didn't know how else to explain it. Something about seeing that dog alone in the park, eyes full of silent pain, had filled her with a sense of responsibility so strong she couldn't ignore it. The clinic's waiting area was modest, with plastic chairs and outdated posters detailing signs of infection in dogs and cats. A pale fluorescent glow lit the small aquarium in the corner, where a single goldfish swam in lazy loops. Lily sat, feeling exhausted yet oddly at peace. She asked Amanda quietly, "Do you think we can keep it after it heals?" She wasn't even sure if the dog was male or female, but that barely mattered to her. Amanda let out a breath. "You know how Dad is. He's allergic to everything that sheds. At least that's what he always says. And we're in a small apartment." Her eyes softened. "But maybe we can talk to him, or find someone who'd adopt it and we can visit. Let's see what Mom says once we know more." Lily nodded. Deep inside, she already felt a bond. She pictured reading stories to the dog curled up at her feet or taking it for walks in the park. In every fantasy, she was more confident, and the dog was always safe. For a moment, she felt a pang of fear that after all this effort, the dog might not recover or might slip away because of some deeper complication. That thought clenched her heart like an icy grip. When Dr. Moreno returned, she had news both concerning and hopeful. The X-ray shows no major fracture, just a hairline crack that should heal with rest. The bigger issue is the infection in the leg wound. But with treatment, there's a good chance of full recovery. The dog's very underweight, though, and probably has been neglected for a while. Lily's mother nodded. "We'll do whatever we can." She glanced at Lily, noticing her anxious stare. "It might be a long road." "I'll keep it here for 2 days," Dr. Moreno said, her voice calm. We'll clean and stitch the wound, administer antibiotics, and monitor it. After that, if all goes well, you can take the dog home or make other arrangements." Lily felt tears of gratitude prick her eyes. She bowed her head toward the floor, trying to hide her emotions, but Amanda saw the gleam and gave her a playful nudge. "Looks like you just volunteered to be a nurse," Amanda teased. "You're going to have to learn how to clean stitches and stuff." Quiet laughter mingled with relief. Outside, the city lights were already coming on. Lily's mother quietly wrote a deposit check, hands shaking a bit from the sudden expense. Once the details were finalized, they left the clinic with a promise to return as soon as the dog was strong enough to leave. Lily lingered near the door, as though reluctant to part, but the receptionist assured her that Dr. Moreno's team would take good care of their new patient overnight. In the car ride back, the mood was hushed. Amanda tapped on her phone screen, likely telling friends about the unexpected drama. Lily's mother drove in silence, eyes flicking to the rearview mirror every so often to check on Lily. At a stoplight, she finally spoke. "You know, Lily, I'm proud of you. I know this won't be easy or cheap, but I'm proud you stood up for something you believed in." Lily's cheeks warmed. Typically, she tried her best to remain invisible, never volunteering, never asking for special treatment in class. She was the girl who shrank from confrontation, avoided new clubs, and rarely raised her hand even when she knew the answer. Yet here she was, defying strangers, persuading her own family, and forging a path to save a life. "Thanks, Mom," she whispered. I had to." Amanda turned around in her seat. "So, are we naming this dog or what?" she asked. "Can't keep calling it the dog." Lily brightened. "I was thinking maybe Chance, because I don't know, it feels like we're giving it another chance, and maybe it'll give me one too." She felt silly admitting it, but the name had popped into her mind the moment she decided they would not abandon the stray. "That's perfect," Amanda said with a grin. Their mother simply nodded, letting the name sink in. Lily leaned back, repeating the word in her head. Chance. It sounded both hopeful and gentle, like a promise of something better on the horizon. When they finally reached their apartment building, Lily realized the day had left her drained. She went straight to her room, dropping her backpack on the floor. Though her mind buzzed with questions, how would Dad react? Where would the dog stay? How much money would it cost? She felt a deep sense of gratitude. She had done something real, and maybe, just maybe, she was stronger than she thought. Morning arrived, bringing unseasonably bright sunshine that poured through Lily's bedroom window. She awoke with a jolt, remembering the events of the previous day. For a moment she worried she'd dreamed it, but the tension in the living room confirmed everything. Her mother stood by the telephone, engaged in a subdued yet intense conversation with Lily's father. From the fragments Lily caught, he was irritated. She heard phrases like, "We can't afford it," and "allergic," but also her mother's determined replies. "The clinic has already started treatment. Lily's old enough to help. It's done now." Slipping silently to the kitchen, Lily poured herself cereal, though her appetite was shaky. She listened with a pounding heart as her mother hung up and came to join her. "Dad's upset," her mother acknowledged, running a hand over her tired eyes. "But I told him it's not up for discussion. He'll be home in a week. Guess he'll have to deal with it when he gets here." Lily chewed thoughtfully, a mixture of relief that her mother was backing her up and dread at the conflict that would surely erupt once her father returned. The day passed in a blur. Lily found it hard to focus on schoolwork, drifting off in class while wondering about Chance. Amanda had left for her part-time job and their mother was juggling errands. Lily texted her sister to ask if they could visit the clinic together that afternoon. She craved the comfort of seeing the dog, making sure it was okay. But Amanda's schedule was full, and Lily's mother couldn't leave work early. Lily ended up walking home alone, thoughts swirling. She reminded herself that Dr. Moreno had promised to call if there was any problem. No news was good news, right? Yet the sense of urgency to do more tugged at Lily as she rummaged through her desk at home. She found a handful of small bills saved from birthdays, plus coins from an old piggy bank. It wasn't much, but maybe it could help with the expenses. She hid the money in an envelope, determined to give it to her mother. After all, if Lily was responsible enough to demand treatment for Chance, she had to contribute something more than words. That evening, she sat in the living room, waiting anxiously for the phone to ring. At precisely 7 o'clock, Dr. Moreno called. Lily's mother put the call on speaker so Lily could listen. "The stitches went fine," the vet said, sounding cheerful. "Chance is awake, though a bit groggy. We're pumping in antibiotics, and so far the infection looks contained. He's a resilient little thing." Lily felt a rush of relief at hearing the pronoun. So Chance was a boy. Somehow, that small revelation solidified his identity. He wasn't just some random dog. He was Chance, with a life story she was becoming part of. After the call ended, Lily smiled for the first time all day. She told Amanda over text, then curled up on the couch to watch a nature documentary. The show featured endangered animals being rescued, and it brought tears to her eyes. She realized how many beings out there needed someone to stand up for them, to refuse to look away. The thought made her want to do more, to volunteer, to raise money. But she pushed those dreams aside for now. Step by step, she reminded herself, like Dr. Moreno said. First, help Chance recover, then see what doors might open. Morning came again with new warmth in the air. Lily's mother handed her the keys with a rare smile. "Get in the car," she said, surprising Lily. "I took the day off. We're going to check on Chance. Amanda has class, but you and I can go together." Lily nearly spilled her juice in her hurry to throw on shoes and scramble out the door. Her mother laughed at her excitement, shaking her head. "Slow down, Lily. The dog isn't going anywhere." But Lily's heart refused to slow. She felt a giddy anticipation, equal parts joy and trepidation. When they pulled into the clinic's small parking lot, Lily almost forgot to unbuckle her seatbelt. She rushed inside, scanning the rows of pet carriers and the posters on the walls until she spotted Dr. Moreno. The vet smiled, beckoning Lily to follow her to the recovery area. And there he was, Chance, resting in a clean, comfortable kennel, his leg wrapped in fresh bandages, eyes alert. The moment Lily crouched down to speak, his tail gave a weak but unmistakable wag. "Hey," Lily whispered, tears pricking the corners of her eyes. "You remember me?" Chance responded with a soft whine and carefully nudged his nose against the kennel door. Lily reached inside, stroking the patch of fur near his neck that wasn't bandaged. She thought she felt the slightest press of his muzzle against her hand, an affection she never imagined a wounded, abandoned dog could still hold. Dr. Moreno explained the next steps. "We'll keep monitoring him one more night. If all stays stable, he can head home with you tomorrow. Then it's just a matter of follow-ups, proper diet, and daily wound care." Lily turned to her mother, who stood just behind her. "Does that mean we can take him in?" she asked, voice trembling in a way that might have been excitement or fear. She knew the apartment was small, her father opposed, money tight. Still, a hope fluttered in her heart. Her mother hesitated, glancing at Chance's trusting eyes. "We'll figure something out," she said. "First, let's get him fully healed, but Lily..." She gently squeezed her daughter's shoulder. "If this is as important as I think it is to you, we'll try. Truly." That was all Lily needed to hear. She exhaled, turning back to Chance. In that moment, she felt a surge of confidence rarely accessible in her day-to-day life. Something new had awoken inside her, an empathy, a determination. Maybe it had always been there, but she never had the courage to fight for it, until the day she saw him in the park, overlooked by everyone else. That afternoon, Lily didn't stop smiling even though she had an upcoming science test she felt unprepared for. In class, her mind drifted to images of Chance, imagining him resting comfortably at the veterinary clinic. She told one or two friends about her rescue mission, though most of them rolled their eyes, more interested in gossip or sports. But Lily didn't mind. There was a steadfast joy in her heart that she refused to let go. She drew little sketches of a dog in her notebook, labeling him Chance in bubbly letters. Every now and then she'd trace the outline of his bandaged leg, hoping it was healing well. When the final bell rang, she dashed out, determined to visit the clinic before heading home. Passing through throngs of students gossiping about weekend plans, Lily slipped away unnoticed. Once she reached the bus stop, she double-checked the crumpled schedule in her pocket, worrying she might be too late. She tapped her foot impatiently as the bus approached, crammed with people returning from work or school. Squeezing inside, Lily could hardly contain her anticipation. She kept imagining the moment she'd peer into the kennel and see Chance wagging his tail. That thought alone was enough to push aside the discomfort of being pressed up against strangers. Dr. Moreno greeted Lily with a smile, amused but unsurprised by her after-school visit. "He's doing better," the vet explained, leading her down the narrow corridor. "The infection hasn't spread, and his appetite is increasing. We'll see how he manages overnight, but I expect good progress." Lily followed eagerly, her heart galloping in anticipation. When she finally spotted Chance, curled up on a soft blanket, her face lit up. A small tail thump greeted her, as though he recognized his young rescuer. Lily slid onto a stool, carefully reaching through the kennel bars to scratch behind his ear. "I'm glad you're okay, buddy," she whispered. She stayed until Dr. Moreno hinted they were closing soon. With a reluctant sigh, Lily stood up, promising she would return the next day. Outside, dusk painted the sky in streaks of pink and orange. Lily caught the bus again, the ride quieter this time. She considered how everything seemed to shift for her. The world felt brighter despite the challenges still looming. At home, her mother asked about Chance's condition, showing a genuine interest Lily rarely saw. Amanda teased Lily about adopting every stray in the city, but there was a softness in her eyes that betrayed admiration. That night, Lily couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned, replaying every moment she spent at the clinic. The lines of her bedroom ceiling blurred as she imagined Chance's big, trusting eyes. She wondered how his life had been before that fateful day in the park. Had someone loved him once? Did he run away, or was he abandoned? Exhausted by her own questions, Lily finally drifted into a restless slumber. She dreamed of a wide-open field where Chance dashed around happily, no bandages on his leg, everything healthy and whole. In that dream, she ran beside him, fearless and free. Morning brought a swirl of new energy. Lily's mother announced that she had arranged a short meeting at the clinic. Their plan was to discuss when they could bring Chance home. Lily's father still wasn't back from his trip, so for the moment, the apartment remained free of conflict. Lily prayed silently that by the time he returned, he might be more open-minded. On the drive, her mother tapped the steering wheel, face set in concentration. Lily stayed quiet, hands folded in her lap. She realized how much her mother was sacrificing extra shifts, budget juggling to pay for the vet bills. At the clinic, Dr. Moreno met them with a brighter face than ever. "He's ready to go home tomorrow, as long as you're prepared for the aftercare," she said. Lily's heart leapt. "Doctor." Moreno handed them a detailed list: daily wound cleaning, antibiotic schedule, and a special diet to build up Chance's strength. The vet emphasized the importance of rest for the healing leg. "Give him a quiet corner, away from too much noise or excitement," she advised. Lily's mother nodded dutifully, though Lily sensed an underlying concern. The apartment was small, and life there might not be quiet for long. They visited Chance in the back room. He seemed more alert, even managing a few eager licks on Lily's hand through the kennel door. The bandage on his leg looked more secure, no sign of fresh bleeding. Lily gently scratched his forehead. "Tomorrow," she said, voice brimming with wonder. "You're coming with us." A nurse approached carrying a clipboard, reminding them to stop by reception to finalize paperwork. Her mother went to handle the details, leaving Lily alone with the dog. Carefully, she slipped her hand inside, brushing it over Chance's good ear. He blinked at her with gratitude, a bond forming that no one else could quite fathom. Early the next day, Lily could hardly concentrate in class. She tapped her pencil, rechecked the time, and stared at the clock's slow-moving hands. At lunch, she found herself shyly mentioning her rescued dog to a friendly classmate who seemed astonished that Lily, of all people, had taken such a bold step. The notion that Lily was quiet and passive clashed with her new image of someone who brought a wounded stray into her family's life. She realized that her classmates' reactions didn't bother her as much as they might have before. In fact, she felt a touch of pride. As soon as the final bell rang, she all but sprinted out. Her mother was waiting in the parking lot, wearing a faint smile that said she was as nervous as Lily. The drive to the clinic was filled with silent anticipation. When they arrived, Dr. Moreno had everything prepared: a small crate padded with blankets, a short supply of medication, and detailed instructions typed out neatly. Chance was brought out by a technician, walking gingerly but steadily on his bandaged leg. Lily felt her chest tighten with emotion. He looked frail, a living reminder of how quickly life could change. "Remember," Dr. Moreno said, her tone firm but kind. "He'll need a calm environment. Don't let him jump onto furniture. Make sure he finishes his antibiotics." Lily nodded, absorbing every word. As they left the clinic, Lily's mother carried the medication while Lily walked carefully beside Chance, guiding him at a slow pace toward the car. He hesitated at first, uncertain about this new transition, but her gentle coaxing eventually succeeded. During the ride home, Lily sat in the back seat with Chance, stroking his back whenever the car's movement jostled him. She whispered words of reassurance, promising him safety. Once they reached the apartment, Lily's mother spread blankets in the corner of the living room, creating a makeshift bed where Chance could rest away from the hustle of the kitchen or hallway. The dog limped around, sniffing hesitantly at every strange surface: table legs, floor mats, even the couch cushions. Lily knelt beside him, guiding him gently to the nest of blankets. Her mother showed her how to prepare the antibiotic and the special dog food. "We'll start slow," she said, "and keep him comfortable. Remember, the doctor wants minimal excitement." Lily nodded, though she silently worried about her father's arrival. Evening settled. Lily sat cross-legged beside Chance, softly humming as she ran a hand over his fur. Despite the looming tension of her father's impending return, she felt a quiet joy. Chance's eyelids drooped, lulled by her gentle tune. In that moment, Lily realized that no matter what happened next, they were in this together. She smiled, grateful for one act of kindness that changed everything forevermore. Late the next afternoon, Lily was kneeling on the floor, carefully draping a soft towel over Chance's makeshift bed, when the front door creaked open. Her father, Thomas, stepped inside, hauling a battered suitcase and looking more exhausted than usual. The moment he caught sight of the dog sleeping in the corner of their cramped living room, his brows knitted into a deep frown. Lily's heart thumped painfully. She'd known this confrontation was coming, but the tension in his gaze unsettled her more than she wanted to admit. She watched as he slowly closed the door and surveyed the scene. Her mother by the kitchen counter, Amanda perched on a chair, and the dog curled up like it belonged. "What is that?" he demanded, pointing at Chance. His tone was sharper than normal, and Lily flinched. Her mother, setting aside a stack of bills, cleared her throat. "It's a stray Lily found," she said evenly. "He was badly hurt. We took him to a vet." Thomas's eyes shifted from the dog's bandaged leg to Lily, then back to his wife. "We can't afford a pet, especially not a sick one. You know I have allergies." His voice rose, bristling with annoyance. "Why did you go through with this without consulting me?" A spark of anger flared in Lily's mother's eyes. "You weren't here," she snapped, "and the dog needed help immediately. We couldn't wait." Amanda sank into her chair, scrolling anxiously on her phone, clearly hoping to avoid taking sides. Lily could feel the weight of her father's frustration, and for a second her courage wilted. But she forced herself to remember the promise she'd made to Chance. "We'll figure it out," Lily said, voice shaky but determined. "I'll pay for some of it. I saved up a little and I can babysit or walk neighbors' dogs. I already do chores." Her father cut her off. "And what about my allergies, Lily? I can't live in my own home if I'm sneezing all day." An uneasy silence fell. Chance stirred, sensing the raised voices. He gave a soft whine, gingerly lifting his head to look at them. Lily's mother drew in a breath. "Look, Tom, you can do a test for specific allergens. Maybe it's mostly cats or certain dog breeds. We won't know unless we check. Meanwhile, Lily's handling the dog's care. And after what we've spent, we can't just throw him back on the street." Thomas set his suitcase aside, knuckles taut on the handle. "Fine," he muttered, though his body language radiated tension. "But this has to be temporary." His gaze locked on Lily. "Don't get attached. Once it's healed, we find someone else to take it. End of discussion." Lily bit her lip, wanting to argue, but the finality in his voice silenced her. "For now," she thought, "let's just keep things calm." She forced herself to nod, though her heart clenched. Chance lowered his head again, his amber eyes flicking between Lily and her father. It made Lily wonder if dogs could sense human conflicts, and she half suspected they could. That evening, the apartment felt heavier than it had in a long time. Thomas retreated to the bedroom, muttering about needing rest. Amanda disappeared to study with a friend. Lily's mother quietly busied herself in the kitchen. Alone in the living room, Lily knelt beside Chance, gently running a hand over his ears. He blinked, leaning into her touch as though grateful for any scrap of comfort. "Don't worry," Lily whispered. "No one's throwing you away again." Her earlier bravery wavered under the weight of her father's stern warning, but beneath her timid exterior, a resolve was forming. She wouldn't back down easily. The next few days were a tense dance of compromise. Thomas avoided the dog whenever possible, stepping around the living room to minimize contact. Yet to everyone's surprise, he seemed to have no severe reaction to Chance's presence, just an occasional sneeze that might have been dust or mild sensitivity. Lily's mother took this as a positive sign, though she stopped short of discussing the matter openly. Lily couldn't tell if her father's silence was grudging acceptance or simmering resentment. Meanwhile, Chance's daily routine became a new rhythm in the household. Mornings began with Lily gently cleaning his stitches as per Dr. Moreno's instructions. Then her mother would feed him the special dog food, carefully measured to help him gain weight. By midday, the apartment was empty except for the dog, as Amanda was at classes and Lily at school, their mother working a part-time shift. Lily felt a pang of worry leaving Chance alone, but he needed rest. He greeted Lily every afternoon with a slow wag of his tail, as though saying he'd waited for her return, and each evening Lily diligently administered the antibiotics, her mother double-checking to ensure the dose was correct. Whenever her father walked by, Lily's heart thudded with anxiety. She feared he might erupt in frustration or begin another lecture about the cost. But the days slipped by and Thomas mostly kept his distance, limiting conversation to short remarks like, "Don't forget to clean up after that thing." Once, Lily caught him peering at Chance while the dog slept, curiosity flickering in his expression before he turned away. Lily dared not hope it was a good sign, but she filed it away, grateful for any tiny progress. Amanda, on the other hand, surprised everyone by growing more protective of Chance. One afternoon, Lily came home to find Amanda curled on the floor next to him, reading a textbook out loud as if he were a study partner. Chance dozed in contentment, occasionally lifting an ear at the sound of her voice. "He's a good listener," Amanda joked, but Lily saw the softness in her eyes. For all Amanda's teasing, she cared. The weekend arrived, offering Lily her first real stretch of free time to dedicate to Chance's recovery. She spent hours sitting beside him, reading novels in a low voice, or sometimes just letting him rest his head in her lap. Slowly, his appetite improved, and his coat began to show a faint sheen. The stitches remained an annoyance for him, but Lily kept the area clean. She took occasional walks with him in the hallway of their apartment building, supporting his weight when he stumbled. Each small improvement was like a tiny miracle that fueled Lily's determination. On Sunday afternoon, Lily's mother announced they were expecting a visit from Dr. Moreno for a home checkup. "She offered to come since she was in the area," her mother explained. "Probably wants to make sure we're doing everything right." Lily felt both excitement and nerves. Would the vet declare the apartment unsuitable? Would she note the tension lingering in the air? When Dr. Moreno arrived, she stepped inside with a cheerful wave, carrying a small bag of supplies. She greeted Lily and her mother warmly, then knelt by Chance, giving him a gentle rub behind the ears. "He looks perkier," she observed, checking the bandage. "The stitches are healing nicely. You've been doing a great job, Lily." A faint blush crept over Lily's cheeks. Praise was rare in her world, especially from adults outside her family. Thomas entered the living room with a guarded expression, taking in Dr. Moreno's presence. She gave him a polite nod, undeterred. "Hello, I'm the vet overseeing Chance's care. No major allergy issues, I hope." Thomas lifted a brow, folding his arms. "I guess not. I'm sneezing a bit, but it's not the end of the world." His neutral tone surprised Lily, who had braced for something harsher. The vet smiled, running a practiced eye over Chance once more. "He'll need about another week or two before the stitches come out. After that, he should be on the path to normal activity. The question is, have you thought about what happens next? Dogs need exercise, social interaction, and a stable environment. Are you ready to keep him?" A thick hush fell. Lily's mother glanced at Thomas, who stared down at the floor for a long moment. Then he muttered, "We'll see." Dr. Moreno's gaze shifted from father to daughter, reading the unspoken tensions. She nodded diplomatically. "Well, let me know if you want resources for rehoming. But if he's staying, I can recommend some training classes or routine checkups." Lily felt an ache behind her ribs at the mention of rehoming. She smoothed a hand over Chance's head, silently praying they wouldn't face that option. Dr. Moreno finished her inspection, concluding that everything was in order. She left with a friendly wave, reminding them to call if anything changed. The silence in her wake was almost suffocating. Lily waited, half dreading a sudden outburst, but her father merely said he had work to do, disappearing into the bedroom. Her mother sank onto the sofa, exhaling. "Well, it could have gone worse," she murmured, rubbing her temples. Lily quietly agreed, but her stomach twisted with uncertainty. Later that night, Lily found herself alone in the living room with Chance. Amanda was out with friends, and their mother was bathing. Thomas presumably had gone to bed. The apartment was cocooned in darkness, aside from a single lamp that cast soft light onto the walls. Lily sat cross-legged, reading a book while Chance dozed on his blankets. At some point she felt a prickle on her skin, an unexplainable sense that someone was watching. She glanced toward the hall and spotted Thomas standing there, silent. For a heartbeat, Lily froze. Then her father walked over with measured steps, lowering himself onto the edge of the armchair. He gazed at Chance, noticing how calm the dog looked. "Still awake?" he asked, directing the question to Lily, though his eyes lingered on the dog. "Yeah," she replied, voice catching in her throat. "I was just reading. Didn't notice the time." She closed the book and rested it on her lap. An awkward lull stretched between them. Lily wondered if he'd bring up rehoming again or if he'd scold her for staying up late. Instead, he sighed, eyes flickering over the bandages. "Does it still hurt him?" he asked quietly. Lily blinked in surprise. "I think it's better," she ventured. "He doesn't whine as much. I keep it clean like Dr. Moreno said." Thomas nodded, leaning forward in the chair. "I didn't mean to come off so harsh," he murmured. "It's just money, allergies, stress. Sometimes you feel like everything piles up and you can't handle another responsibility." A subdued tension underpinned his words, but Lily glimpsed a hint of vulnerability she'd rarely seen in him. "I understand," she said softly, though her heart fluttered with hope. "But we're handling it, and he's not going to be sick forever. He'll get better." She mustered the courage to meet her father's gaze. "He's a good dog." Thomas hesitated, seeming torn. Then he nodded once more. "We'll see," he repeated, an echo of his earlier statement, but softer this time. Before he left the room, he gave Chance one lingering glance. It wasn't exactly acceptance, but it wasn't outright rejection either, and for Lily that small shift felt like a triumph. Once alone again, Lily exhaled, shoulders sagging as though she'd been holding her breath for hours. Chance nuzzled her hand, and she patted his head with relief. "We'll keep trying," she whispered, more to herself than to him. One day, he might change his mind. The dog offered her a sleepy blink, resting his muzzle on her knee. For the first time that night, Lily dared to believe that maybe, just maybe, this fragile truce could grow into something stronger. And so she picked up her book again, confident that in a cramped living room, under a worn-out lamp, small seeds of hope were being planted despite all odds. The next morning dawned with a crisp chill in the air. Lily woke earlier than usual, her heart thumping with renewed determination. She tiptoed into the living room where Chance was still curled on his blanket, his bandaged legs stretched out. A faint stream of sunlight made his fur glow in a patch of warmth on the floor. Lily crouched by him, whispering her usual greeting. The dog stirred, eyelids heavy, then slowly hoisted himself upright to press his snout against her hand. That subtle gesture of trust and soft companionship reminded her that she had to keep pushing forward no matter her father's reservations. She went through the morning routine, carefully dabbing an antiseptic around the stitches, checking for signs of redness or swelling, and making sure Chance took his antibiotic pill hidden in a small piece of cheese. Her mother moved around the kitchen, half focused on preparing breakfast and half steeling herself for another day of tension. The hush in the apartment was broken only by the coffee machine's low gurgle and the clink of plates. Lily's father emerged soon after, still looking sleepy and distracted. He cast a brief glance at Chance, mumbled a greeting to Lily, then turned his attention to the news on TV. It wasn't exactly warmth, but Lily noticed that he no longer startled or scowled at the dog's presence. In a household that had felt on edge just days before, that smallest shift was enough to buoy her spirits. When Lily left for school, the usual anxiety that accompanied her daily routine had lessened. Even the seat she took at the back of her homeroom felt more comfortable now. She knew that, at least for today, her father wasn't erupting with new demands. She imagined Chance snoozing until her mother came home from work. As her teacher, Ms. Rivers, began the lecture, Lily found herself unusually attentive, perhaps because she no longer carried the same weight of dread about the dog's future. When Ms. Rivers announced that the class would need volunteers for an upcoming charity drive, Lily felt an urge she couldn't quite explain. Normally, she would sink into her seat, avoiding eye contact. But this time, her hand inched up, heart pounding. "I can help," she heard herself say, voice trembling slightly. The teacher blinked in surprise, and a few classmates shot Lily puzzled looks. But Ms. Rivers only smiled and wrote down Lily's name. The warm glow that bloomed inside Lily was startling in its intensity. It was the same confidence that Chance's rescue had lit within her. A reminder that taking a stand for something you cared about could be transformative. At lunch, Lily found herself trying to talk with two girls from her English class, something she rarely did. They asked why she suddenly volunteered, and Lily explained about wanting to help animals in need, how she'd rescued Chance. While one girl shrugged indifferently, the other seemed genuinely curious. "That's really cool, Lily," she said. "I mean, you barely spoke before. Now you're rescuing dogs and volunteering." Lily blushed, fiddling with the edge of her sleeve, but a small smile tugged at her lips. It felt good to be seen in a new light, even if it was uncomfortable at times. When she returned home later that day, Lily found her father at the kitchen table, poring over a stack of bills. She swallowed, sensing the frustration in his tense posture. He was tapping a pen against a piece of paper. "We're running behind on some payments," he muttered, "and these vet costs aren't helping." Lily felt a pang of guilt. She knew finances were tight. Gently, she eased into the seat across from him and slid over her small envelope of saved money. It wasn't much, just some birthday cash and coins, plus tips she earned from small errands, but she hoped the gesture would show she was serious about sharing the burden. Her father glanced at the envelope, eyebrows lifted. "What's this?" "It's all I have," Lily murmured. "I know it's not enough, but maybe it can help a little." Thomas exhaled, shoulders softening slightly. He didn't open the envelope. Instead, he set it aside, lips pressing together. "Keep it," he said, sounding weary. "I appreciate the thought, but that won't fix everything, and you might need it for school stuff." Lily lowered her gaze. "I just want to help," she said quietly. They sat in silence for a minute. Then Thomas ran a hand over his face, the frustration in his eyes warring with something else, maybe regret or a sliver of compassion. "Look," he said, "I know you did this for the right reasons. I'm not heartless, but we have to be realistic." Lily swallowed the protest forming on her tongue. Instead, she nodded, deciding not to push. Each day that Chance remained in their home without a meltdown felt like a small victory. She promised herself that she'd find other ways to raise funds. Perhaps she could talk to Ms. Rivers about channeling the upcoming charity event into something that could benefit strays or local shelters. As the week went on, Lily poured her energy into Chance's care and the volunteer work for school. She discovered that Ms. Rivers wanted the class to organize a bake sale to raise money for a children's hospital. Lily began wondering if there was a way to include animals in the drive. Her initial request was met with confusion. Some classmates thought the cause was too different, but Lily was resolved to find common ground. Maybe part of the proceeds could go to the children's hospital, while a portion could benefit a local animal rescue. "Kids and animals both need help," she pointed out, her heart pounding as she spoke in front of her classmates. "We can split the donations." Surprisingly, the compromise worked. A few classmates even liked the idea, recalling their own pets or stray animals in the neighborhood. As Lily stood there, hearing the murmurs of agreement, she realized how far she'd come from the silent girl in the back row. And it all started because she cared about a dog named Chance. At home, meanwhile, Amanda began noticing subtle changes in their father's behavior. Once or twice, Thomas lingered in the living room after dinner. quietly observing as Lily changed Chance's bandage. He didn't offer to help, but he asked questions in a restrained voice. How long until that wound is fully healed? Or does the vet think he'll limp forever? Lily answered patiently, relieved he was showing interest rather than annoyance. Amanda teased that he was warming up, but Lily didn't want to jinx it. One evening, as Lily finished wiping the floor around Chance's area, he'd had a bit of an accident. She glanced up to find her father watching from the hallway. For a moment, his expression was thoughtful, almost sympathetic. Lily's breath caught as he looked at the dog and then met her eyes. "You're handling it," he said at last, not unkindly. She managed a nod, heart soaring. They were just 3 simple words, but they felt like an acknowledgement of everything she'd been doing. Chance, perhaps sensing the undercurrents, ambled toward Thomas, bandaged leg held slightly aloft. He paused near the older man's feet and sniffed. Lily held her breath. Her father tensed at first, but instead of snapping, he stepped back a fraction, allowing the dog to pass. It was a minor detail, but for Lily, it seemed like a monumental step. Thomas wasn't pushing the dog away or complaining about allergies. He was coexisting, if warily. On a Friday afternoon, Lily came home to see her mother flipping through a pamphlet. "The vet recommended this for basic obedience classes," she explained, tapping the front cover. "She says it might help if Chance learns commands so he's less likely to cause problems, and it might convince your father that the dog can fit into the family." Lily's eyes shone. "That's a great idea. When can we start?" Her mother looked uncertain. "We'll need to check schedules and fees. Let's see if we can find a cheaper option, or maybe a local trainer who offers group classes." Lily picked up the pamphlet, scanning photos of happy owners with their well-trained dogs. She imagined herself and Chance graduating from a class, father looking on with cautious approval. It was a comforting daydream. She pressed the pamphlet to her chest, grateful that everyone, even in baby steps, seemed to be trying. That weekend, the family had an overdue conversation. It happened during breakfast, after Thomas sneezed and then declared it was probably dust. Lily's mother calmly brought up the future. "We need to decide if we're truly keeping Chance. We can't live in limbo forever." Thomas sighed. Lily's heart pounded so loudly, she was certain everyone could hear it. But then her father shrugged. "He's already here," he admitted. "I'm dealing with it. Let's just see if this dog can actually become part of the household. If he keeps behaving and doesn't wreck anything else." Amanda raised her eyebrows. "You mean like that old lamp you hated anyway?" Her father ignored the jab, continuing, "And if Lily shows she's responsible, we'll keep reevaluating." Lily wanted to jump up and cheer, but she just nodded, trying to remain composed. Chance lay near the table, sniffing hopefully at the scent of scrambled eggs. Her mother gave him a soft gaze. "You might surprise yourself," she told Thomas gently. "Dogs can be healing if you let them." He grunted, not quite disagreeing, and Lily recognized that as a sign of quiet progress. Later that day, Lily took Chance for a short walk, still keeping him on gentle exercise. They ventured outside with Amanda trailing behind, mostly to ensure Lily didn't run into trouble if the dog got spooked. Though it was only a walk around the block, the warm sun and mild breeze made Lily's spirits soar. Chance paused here and there to sniff corners, ears flicking at new sounds. He seemed genuinely curious about the world. At one point, Amanda remarked, "He's actually kind of cute, you know," and Lily laughed. After their walk, Lily eased him back inside. While she offered him water, her father passed through the living room carrying a load of laundry. He paused when he saw them, frowning slightly, then set the basket down and asked, "He did okay?" Lily nodded, noticing how he wouldn't meet her eyes, but then he cleared his throat. "That's good," he said, lifting the basket again. Lily caught the momentary flicker in his voice, something like acceptance, or at least a kinder tolerance. It made her smile. At bedtime, Lily found herself journaling for the first time in ages. She scribbled down everything she felt: relief, nervousness about the future, gratitude. She described Chance's gentle progress and the small cracks in her father's resistance. Finishing with a flourish, she wrote, "Sometimes a single act of kindness can change a world. Maybe it's just my little world right now, but it matters to me." Then, exhausted, she flicked off the light. In the dim glow from the street lamp outside, she could just make out Chance's sleeping form. In that moment, Lily felt sure that no matter how uncertain or complex life could be, she was on a path worth following. Saturday morning arrived with a promise of change. Lily woke to the sun's gentle rays sneaking past her curtains, painting warm stripes across her bedspread. Ever since adopting Chance, each new day felt like a chance, no pun intended, to further prove that caring for a dog was a gift, not a burden. Her heart still fluttered with worry when she remembered her father's uneasy acceptance. But she clung to small signs of progress. His calmer tone, fewer complaints, and that moment he'd asked about Chance's limp. After a quick breakfast of toast and orange juice, Lily called the local training center to inquire about obedience classes. She learned that the beginner sessions were affordable and met once a week at a community field just a few blocks away. Eager to show initiative, Lily wrote the details in her notebook and presented them to her mother, who nodded approvingly. "I'll see if I can rearrange my shifts," her mother said, glancing at the family's monthly calendar. "If it works out, maybe your father can drop you off or Amanda can." The fact that her mother mentioned Thomas as a potential helper felt like an optimistic leap. That afternoon, Lily carefully removed Chance's bandage for Dr. Moreno's recommended airing period. The skin beneath looked pink but not inflamed. Once done, Lily rewrapped the leg with fresh gauze, her movements gentle yet confident. Chance didn't protest. He lay patiently, snout resting on the old towel, eyes following Lily's every move. Amanda, half watching from the couch, spoke up. "You do that like a pro," she remarked. "Maybe you'll be a vet someday." Lily flushed, never having considered that future. She had always felt overshadowed, convinced her quiet nature left no space for big ambitions. But each time she helped Chance, she discovered a soft glow of capability inside herself. In the evening, Lily's mother broached the training class idea with Thomas, explaining the benefits. "He can learn basic commands," she said, wiping her hands on a dish rag. "That might prevent accidents or property damage." Thomas frowned, glancing sidelong at the dog curled near the door, but he didn't immediately dismiss the proposal. He asked practical questions. How far was it? How much did it cost? How long did each session last? Though his voice carried its usual skepticism, Lily sensed no outright refusal. That alone was encouraging. By Sunday, Lily had her answer. They would start the class next weekend. "Let's see if this dog of ours can actually behave," Thomas muttered. Lily didn't correct him on the phrase, "dog of ours." Hearing that ownership in his voice was its own small victory. All the while, Lily's volunteer work at school gathered momentum. She partnered with a classmate named Brianna, who had a golden retriever at home and felt strongly about helping strays. Together, they planned the upcoming bake sale, deciding on a simple approach. Half of the funds would go to the local children's hospital, and half would benefit an animal rescue organization that had partnered with Dr. Moreno. Their teacher, Ms. Rivers, praised the idea, especially because it showed empathy for two different vulnerable groups. Lily found herself drafting flyers, sending emails, and even standing up in front of the class to give short announcements, things that would have terrified her just a month ago. Her transformation didn't go unnoticed at home. One evening, Amanda nudged Lily while they were both cleaning up the dinner table. "You're turning into quite the activist," she teased. talking about rescue dogs in front of a whole class. Who are you, and what did you do with my shy sister? Lily merely laughed, a bit self-conscious but also proud. Guess I realize speaking up doesn't have to be scary when it's for something I believe in, she said. Her father, passing by with an empty salad bowl, raised an eyebrow. He said nothing, but Lily guessed he was hearing more than he let on. The week zipped by in a flurry of schoolwork, flyers for the bake sale, and daily checkups on Chance's healing leg. Each afternoon, Lily practiced short walks with him, guiding him up and down the street. Once he was fully cleared by Dr. Moreno, she hoped to do a bit of leash training before the official obedience classes began. Observing Lily's diligence, Thomas kept his criticisms minimal. Sometimes Lily caught him watching from a window, arms crossed, though not in anger, more like quiet observation. Finally, Saturday arrived, and Lily could hardly contain her excitement. She woke early to feed Chance, then changed into comfortable clothes. Her father had agreed to drop her off at the training field, but he insisted on staying in the car at first. "I'll watch from a distance," he said, shrugging away Lily's suggestion that he join them on the grass. It was enough for her that he even came along instead of flat-out refusing. When they reached the field, a fenced-in patch of green with a handful of other dog owners milling around, Lily guided Chance over the grass, letting him sniff the breeze. He seemed both cautious and curious about this new space filled with unfamiliar scents. A tall, friendly woman named Gina introduced herself as the instructor. She gave Lily a warm grin. "So, this is your buddy, huh? Looks like he's healing from something." Lily explained Chance's story in brief, and Gina's eyes softened. "That's wonderful, giving him a fresh start. Don't worry, we'll take it slow with him." She bent down, offering Chance a small treat, which he accepted gingerly before wagging his tail. "Looks like a sweet boy," Gina said, leading Lily to a semicircle where other participants were gathering. There were about 6 dogs in total, some purebred, others mixed breeds, each with its own personality. Lily found a spot near the edge, hoping to keep Chance from feeling overwhelmed. She caught a glimpse of her father watching from inside the car, the windows rolled down. He seemed half buried in his phone, but Lily guessed he was keeping an eye on them. The class began with basic commands: sit, stay, come. Chance, still a bit stiff, struggled at first. Lily had to coax him gently, offering small treats each time he made a correct move. Gina praised their patience, reminding Lily to keep a calm, reassuring tone. "He's learning to trust," the instructor said. "A rescue dog sometimes needs extra time, especially if they've experienced trauma." Lily nodded, remembering the terrified look in Chance's eyes that first day at the park. She sensed how remarkable it was that he'd gone from shrinking away from strangers to eagerly nose-bumping her palm. When they practiced heel, Chance limped a little faster, as though determined to keep pace. Every success, no matter how small, lit a spark of joy in Lily's chest. Near the end of the class, Gina demonstrated a short obstacle course with small cones. Chance attempted it shyly, weaving clumsily, but Lily applauded him anyway. He looked up at her, tail wagging as if to say, "Is this right?" She scratched his ears, beaming. After an hour, the group reconvened to share their experiences. Lily relaxed, discovering that some of the other owners also had rescued dogs with stories of neglect or loneliness. A couple of them admired Chance, saying it was amazing how calm he seemed. "I guess we've both been changing," Lily admitted, stroking Chance's back. A beagle owner laughed. "Happens to the best of us. They teach us as much as we teach them." When the class wrapped up, Lily glanced at the car, hoping her father might step out, but he simply started the engine. She lingered long enough to say goodbye to Gina, then guided Chance toward the parking lot. As she opened the back door for him, Thomas glanced over. "How was it?" he asked curtly. Lily smiled, adrenaline still buzzing. "He did great," she said. "He's learning the commands. Gina said we just need consistent practice at home." Her father drove off without immediate comment, but Lily was too giddy to mind. She ruffled Chance's fur, whispering that she was proud of him, and he pressed his head against her shoulder as though he understood every word. After they returned home, Thomas muttered something about errands and left again. Lily took the opportunity to practice the sit command in the living room. Chance followed her lead, occasionally glancing around as if unsure why they were repeating the same motion. Amanda came out of her room and watched with mild amusement. "You're so into this," she remarked, "but hey, he's paying attention and you both look happy." They were, Lily realized. She hadn't felt this consistent sense of happiness in a long while, not even with the tension about money or her father's guarded attitude. Each day she spent helping Chance solidified a new identity for her, someone capable, someone who could stand up for what mattered. And while her father remained cautious, the fact that he'd let her attend training signaled another step toward acceptance. That night, as Lily finished her homework, she checked her phone to find a text from Brianna about the bake sale. They'd secured a spot near the front gate of the school. "We can set up 2 tables," Brianna wrote, "one for the children's hospital stuff and one for the rescue group's info." Lily grinned, imagining how the event would highlight both causes. She closed her textbooks, mind drifting to the possibilities. Maybe she could use photos of Chance's healing journey to illustrate the impact of caring for a stray. Before bed, she walked into the living room and found her mother petting Chance. "He's come a long way," her mother said softly, stroking his ear. "And you too, Lily." The gentle warmth in her voice made Lily's eyes sting with emotion. She knelt beside them, letting out a contented sigh. At that moment, Thomas walked in, pausing briefly as though surprised to see them all together. His gaze swept across the scene, Chance's relaxed posture, Lily's hand resting on the dog's back, and the small, proud smile on his wife's face. Thomas cleared his throat, set down the mail he was carrying, and said nothing. He lingered, one hand on the doorknob, then turned and walked away without complaint. Lily exchanged a glance with her mother. Silence could speak volumes, and Lily chose to interpret his silence as a sign that maybe, just maybe, they were no longer on the brink of losing everything. She ended her day the same way she had many nights since Chance arrived, kneeling by his blankets, whispering a quiet goodnight and thanking him for the courage she'd discovered within herself. As she tucked herself into bed, Lily let her thoughts wander to the bake sale, the training classes, and the possibility that soon she wouldn't have to fear her father's protests anymore. She clung to the quiet conviction that love and patience could reshape even the hardest hearts. And so she drifted to sleep, dreaming of a future in which Chance ran free without a limp. Her father smiled without worry, and Lily herself stood tall, unafraid to speak and love out loud. Brianna and Lily spent all of Monday afternoon finalizing details for the upcoming bake sale. They met in the school library, where the heavy hush forced them to whisper excitedly over color-coded flyers. The plan was simple but ambitious: 2 tables at the front gate, one showcasing treats whose proceeds would benefit the children's hospital, and another dedicated to donations toward the local rescue Dr. Moreno had recommended. Lily printed out a few photos of Chance, before and after his vet treatment, along with brief explanations of how a single act of compassion could transform a life. As she arranged these images on a poster, her hands trembled with a blend of pride and nerves. A month ago, she never would have guessed she'd take center stage in anything, let alone a charitable event. After school on Tuesday, Lily hurried home, determined to rework Chance's sit and stay commands before heading into her own homework. She took him outside to their small communal courtyard, where patchy grass met worn concrete. The dog, bandage-free at last, moved with lingering caution on his healing leg. Even so, he lifted his nose to the breeze, eyes bright with curiosity. Lily felt a surge of warmth every time he followed her command, tail wagging, as though letting her know he enjoyed this learning process. She offered treats in moderation, remembering Gina's words about reinforcement. Practice each step patiently, she'd said, and soon it would become second nature. By Wednesday morning, word of the bake sale had spread through the entire school. Students volunteered in larger numbers, signing up to bake cookies, cupcakes, and brownies. Others promised to help set up tables or design colorful signs. Brianna teased Lily that her quiet determination had sparked a wave of enthusiasm. Lily, for her part, was still adjusting to being approached in the hallway by people wanting to ask about the rescue mission and her dog's progress. She'd been anonymous for so long that she sometimes forgot to respond with confidence, stumbling over words when classmates complimented her flyers. Yet each conversation felt like stepping further outside her self-imposed shadow. At home, tension with Lily's father remained unpredictable, but less explosive. Thomas kept a wary distance from Chance, seldom speaking to the dog. However, Lily noticed small signs of thawing. He didn't recoil whenever Chance ambled past him, and once or twice he even commented on the dog's improved gait. Late one evening, when Lily thought everyone else was asleep, she slipped out of her room to fetch water and noticed a soft light emanating from the living room. As she peeked around the corner, her breath caught. Her father stood by the window, arms folded, gazing at Chance asleep on his blanket. His expression was unreadable, a mix of fatigue and something deeper. Lily didn't dare interrupt. She tiptoed back to bed, heart fluttering. It wasn't acceptance yet, but it looked like a man wrestling with the barriers he'd built. Thursday's training session took place under a hazy sunset. Lily coaxed Chance through simple exercises near the end of their block, weaving around lampposts and practicing short sprints. Despite a slight limp, Chance seemed eager to learn, responding to Lily's gentle praise. Neighbors who recognized Lily as the quiet girl were starting to wave or smile, asking casually, "How's your dog?" More than once, Lily found herself chatting briefly about Chance's story, amazed at how easily compassion could open doors. Even the older man on the corner, who rarely spoke, now gave a nod of approval whenever they walked by. Lily felt a bit like she was building a small community around this one rescued soul. By Friday night, the anticipation for the bake sale soared. Lily spent hours in the kitchen with Amanda, mixing batter for brownies and cookies. Their mother supervised, making sure they didn't leave a colossal mess. Chance, drawn by the sugary smells, hovered at a safe distance, tail wagging at the spectacle. Thomas poked his head in briefly, asked if they needed more sugar, then retreated. Still, Lily counted it as progress that he'd shown even a smidge of interest. Once the final batch cooled, Lily set aside a few brownies for sampling. She wanted to be sure they tasted good enough to inspire donations. Amanda took a bite, raising her eyebrows in pleasant surprise. "You've got a hidden talent," she said, ruffling Lily's hair. The morning of the bake sale dawned crisp and clear. Lily woke before her alarm, nerves jangling in her stomach. She looked at Chance curled at her bedside. He blinked sleepily, as though sensing her excitement. "Big day," Lily told him softly. "Wish me luck." She gave his head a gentle rub, then set about packing the freshly baked treats in plastic containers. Amanda drove her to school early, the trunk laden with boxes of brownies, cookies, and banana bread. Other students were already bustling around the front gate, dragging folding tables into position, tacking posters on walls, and carefully arranging trays of desserts. When Lily found Brianna, they swapped grins of anticipation. "You have everything?" Brianna asked, motioning toward Lily's boxes. Lily held up the pictures of Chance along with a donation jar labeled, "Give them a chance." The pun was corny but endearing, courtesy of a classmate who excelled at wordplay. Next to that, another jar read, "Kids need a chance too," indicating the children's hospital portion. The dual theme resonated with students and teachers alike. Once everything was laid out, Lily stepped back to admire the display. The morning sun lit up the glossy photos of Chance, capturing his transformation from a ragged, injured stray to a calmer, healthier dog. Even now, glimpsing that before and after contrast gave Lily goosebumps. As the first wave of parents and younger students arrived, curiosity led them to the tables. Brianna's cheerful sales pitch and Lily's earnest sincerity formed an effective duo. While Brianna explained the flavors of each baked item, Lily shared a brief version of Chance's rescue story, deftly pointing to the images. The kids giggled at pictures of the dog sporting a tiny bandage, while a few parents listened with soft smiles. "He's lucky you found him," one mother said, dropping spare coins into the rescue jar. Another commented on how great it was to see a student caring about animals. Lily felt her cheeks heating up from all the attention, but the swirl of gratitude and purpose made it worthwhile. Throughout the morning, teachers stopped by, offering supportive words. Ms. Rivers gave Lily a proud nod. "You're going to raise a lot, I can feel it," she said, buying 2 brownies. Even the principal, known for his stoic demeanor, paused to commend them on their community initiative. By mid-morning, the donation jars rattled with coins and small bills. Lily's heart soared. She spotted Amanda in the crowd, helping load more desserts onto the table when stock ran low. Then, just as Lily turned to greet another potential customer, she froze in shock. Standing near the edge of the crowd was her father, hands in his pockets, quietly observing. She felt her pulse accelerate. She hadn't expected him to show up. A swirl of questions spun in her mind. Was he here to scold her about overspending on supplies? Or had he come to see if the event was worth the hype? With a trembling wave, Lily beckoned him closer. He hesitated, then walked forward, eyes scanning the table. She braced for skepticism. Instead, Thomas extended a small bill and slipped it into the "Give Them a Chance" jar. "For the dog stuff," he mumbled, glancing at the photos. Lily's chest felt so full she could hardly speak. After a beat, she stammered, "Thank you," her voice nearly breaking with relief. He nodded, then lingered a moment, reading the lines that told Chance's story. The transformation in the photos was stark. The frightened, wounded dog lying in a park versus the bright-eyed companion Lily now had at home. Thomas's mouth twitched into something resembling a sad smile. He reached for a small chocolate chip cookie, leaving a coin in the donation jar for the children's hospital. "2 causes at once," he remarked, almost to himself. Then, with a nod to Lily, he turned and drifted away into the mingling crowd. Lily stood there, uncertain whether to laugh or cry. In the end, she decided to focus on the next wave of eager buyers. The morning flew by in a blur of conversations, coins clinking, and sweet aromas floating through the air. By noon, the plates were nearly empty, and both donation jars looked significantly heavier. Brianna counted the money while Lily tallied baked goods sold. The final amount brought gasps. They'd raised more than expected. Other classmates had done their part at a nearby table, helping the hospital cause, so the total sum for each organization was substantial. Overjoyed, Lily and Brianna tidied up while volunteers carted away empty trays. Ms. Rivers congratulated them, taking pictures to post on the school website. Lily's father had long since vanished, but the memory of his quiet contribution kept her spirits high. She texted her mother a summary of their success, then hopped into Amanda's car, exhausted but glowing. When Lily arrived home, Chance greeted her with that steady wag of the tail she'd come to cherish. She sank onto the living room floor, letting him sniff the faint sense of frosting clinging to her sleeves. "We did it," she murmured, petting him. "We raised enough to help more dogs like you. And help some kids, too." The dog nuzzled her arm in response. She couldn't help imagining a future in which countless other strays found refuge and children in hospitals received the care they needed. It wasn't a far-off fantasy. because she'd just proven it was possible to unite people around compassion. That evening, Lily's mother returned from a shift, eyes lighting up when Lily showed her the numbers. Amanda teased her about starting a philanthropic empire. Even Thomas, when he entered the room, didn't scoff. Instead, he crossed his arms and said, "It's good you're learning to make a difference." His tone was stiff, but the words carried a note of respect. Lily beamed, her eyes prickling with gratitude. She felt like she had taken another step closer to bridging the gap in their home. It wasn't perfect. Money problems still hovered, her father's acceptance remained cautious, and there was always a chance he'd revert to frustration. But in that moment, she held tight to the undeniable proof that good deeds could ripple far and wide. Later, as Lily prepared for bed, she received a text from Brianna. "You did amazing today, Lily. So proud of everything we accomplished." Lily reread the message, marveling at how one shy girl's decision to help a stray dog had spiraled into collective action. She set her phone aside, gazing at Chance dozing peacefully near her doorway. She thought back to that first day in the park, when everyone else walked by without so much as a glance. No one had paid attention to the injured dog, until Lily found the courage to do so. Curling under her blankets, Lily felt an overwhelming sense of calm. The money they raised would help more dogs like Chance and more children who needed extra support. The uneasy cracks in her own family's foundation felt a bit more solid tonight, thanks to one small act of kindness that grew beyond what she ever imagined. She drifted off to sleep with the comforting thought that love, once ignited, had the power to draw unlikely people together. That was the lesson Chance had taught her. How a single moment of empathy could become a beacon, guiding everyone toward a more compassionate tomorrow. Over the next week, Lily settled into a lively new routine of homework, dog training, and the lingering excitement from the successful bake sale. Each day brought her a little closer to integrating Chance fully into the family's life. The dog was healing well, his limp less pronounced, and Lily quietly thrilled at each sign of improvement. She posted an update in her school's online bulletin, thanking everyone who contributed to the fundraiser. Fellow students left positive comments, some even asking if they could meet Chance in person. Lily chuckled at the thought of parading him around school, wondering if that might open yet more hearts to rescue animals. Meanwhile, Amanda teased her about becoming a mini celebrity in class. Lily laughed it off, but privately she sensed a shift in how her classmates saw her. Teachers and students alike paused to say hello, sometimes asking for her opinion on rescue efforts. The shy girl in the background had become someone who spoke up, a change Lily still found startling. She wasn't sure if she'd ever feel fully comfortable in the spotlight, yet each new conversation felt like a reminder of how far she'd come. At home, she was eager for the next training class, taking every spare minute to reinforce Chance's commands. In the living room, she practiced sit and stay, rewarding him with soft praise and small treats. He responded with gentle tail wags, pressing his muzzle against her hand whenever he succeeded. Even Thomas showed mild curiosity about these sessions. On multiple occasions, Lily spotted him standing in the doorway, eyes following the dog's movements. She half expected her father to scoff that it was all too much effort. Instead, he merely watched, occasionally offering a gruff nod before leaving the room. Friday evening arrived with a newfound sense of calm. Thomas, who had been working extra shifts for the past month, actually made it home for dinner at a reasonable hour. Lily's mother cooked a simple meal of pasta and salad, and the four of them sat around the table. The usual tension hovered, but it felt muted now. Chance lay quietly on his blankets, his chin resting on crossed paws, content to observe the family from a short distance. He seemed to sense that mealtime was their ritual, not his. Lily's father cast a glance at him, then said in a subdued voice, "That dog's gotten bigger. Must be eating well." Lily perked up. Dr. Moreno said he was underweight before. Now he's at a healthy range. Thomas nodded. Good, he said, carefully twirling pasta on his fork. He looks better. It was only a small exchange, but Lily cherished that subtle acknowledgement from her father. The next morning, she woke early, brimming with anticipation for the second obedience class at the community field. She hurried to shower and dress, hoping not to miss the start time. When she emerged, she found her father already up, sipping coffee at the kitchen table. "You're leaving soon?" he asked, not looking at her directly. "Yes," Lily replied, adjusting the leash coiled in her hand. "Class starts at 9. She braced herself for a curt farewell, but instead Thomas stood, set down his mug, and cleared his throat. "I'll drive you again," he said. "And maybe this time I'll watch closer." Her pulse raced. She nodded, fighting a grin, and led Chance out. The dog walked willingly by her side as though he too sensed a change brewing. They piled into the car, Lily in the back seat with Chance, father behind the wheel. The ride was quiet, each of them preoccupied with private thoughts. Yet Lily couldn't help noticing how her father occasionally glanced into the rearview mirror, gaze flickering toward Chance. Something unspoken had shifted. When they arrived at the field, Lily hopped out with Chance, scanning for Gina. She spotted the instructor setting up small cones for the day's exercises. A half-dozen other dog and owner pairs had gathered under the bright morning sun. As Lily guided Chance onto the grass, she glimpsed her father exit the car. He took a few slow steps forward, stopping near the perimeter fence as though deciding how much to involve himself. Gina waved them over, greeting Lily warmly. "Back for more?" she teased, scratching Chance behind the ears. "How's he been?" Lily beamed. "He's doing well. We practice a little every day." Then, in a hesitant voice, she added, "That's my dad over there." She nodded toward Thomas. Gina waved politely, but he merely lifted a hand in response, staying rooted at the fence. Lily tried not to let the awkwardness dampen her spirits. At least he was here, physically present. The lesson began, focusing on leash manners and recall. Chance, though still limping faintly, followed Lily's guidance with a patience that earned them praise from Gina. By the session's midpoint, they'd progressed to weaving between poles set up across the field. Chance knocked one pole sideways in his first attempt, but Lily laughed it off, giving him a reassuring pat. She realized how little the old Lily, the one who panicked at every mistake, resembled the girl she was now, willing to fail publicly, just to learn something new. After half an hour, Gina led the class toward a small row of hurdles, each only a few inches high. "Don't push if your dog has leg issues," she cautioned Lily, but Chance showed surprising curiosity, hopping over each low obstacle with a determined flick of his tail. It was clumsy. His injured leg nearly gave out once, but Lily stood at his side, whispering encouragement. When he cleared the final hurdle, she clapped, ecstatic. Somewhere behind the fence, Thomas watched with narrowed eyes. By the session's end, Lily was breathless but exhilarated. Chance drank from a plastic bowl Gina provided, his tail sweeping in satisfied arcs. One by one, the other owners drifted away, some tossing Lily compliments on how far her dog had come. Lily lingered, tidying up the training cones as Gina packed up equipment. She glanced over, searching for her father, only to find him gone from the spot he'd occupied. Disappointment pinched her heart. Perhaps he'd grown bored and retreated to the car. Suddenly, Lily noticed him standing closer, near the last hurdle. She startled, unsure how long he'd been there. Before she could speak, he gave a faint nod at Chance. "He's a persistent one," Thomas said, stuffing his hands into his pockets. Lily swallowed. I guess he just wants to learn," she replied, unsure if that sounded silly. Thomas rubbed the back of his neck. "You seem different too," he remarked, glancing at her out of the corner of his eye. less shy. Her stomach flipped. She almost stammered a reply, but then decided to let honesty show. "Chance taught me it's okay to fail in front of people," she said, "and that speaking up for someone or something you care about is worth the risk." Her father's eyes flickered, reflecting a mixture of introspection and discomfort. In that moment, Lily wondered if he regretted his early resistance. She thought of all the reasons he'd been reluctant, from money to allergies to stress. Maybe he was wrestling with the realization that sometimes letting a new presence into your life could bring unexpected growth. They walked back to the car, silent. In the back seat, Lily let Chance sprawl out on a folded blanket. This time, Thomas didn't drive off the moment she shut the door. He exhaled a long breath, then murmured, "You're getting quite good at this dog stuff." The softness in his tone was new, and Lily felt tears prick the back of her eyes. "Thanks," she said quietly, turning to stroke Chance's ears. Back home, Lily recounted the class highlights for her mother, who beamed at how far both Lily and Chance had progressed. Amanda teased her sister about becoming the local dog whisperer, but Lily took it in stride, grinning. She spent the rest of that weekend focusing on homework and occasionally checking on Chance, who curled up contentedly in whichever corner Lily happened to occupy. At odd moments, Lily would recall her father's expression, the way he said she'd changed, and she'd smile to herself. Maybe those walls of his were finally cracking. Just as Lily thought life was smoothing out, an unwelcome jolt arrived Monday evening. Lily's mother sank into a kitchen chair, phone in hand. "The landlord texted," she said, her voice tight. "He's raising the rent in 2 months with our bills, and we might need to look for somewhere cheaper." Lily's stomach plummeted. Amanda stood by the sink, eyebrows shooting up. "Wait, do we have to move? What about all our stuff? The dog?" Thomas, who'd just entered the apartment, overheard. He frowned, stepping into the kitchen. The landlord's increasing rent again? He let out a muttered curse. Lily braced for his frustration to direct itself at her or the dog. Instead, he simply rubbed his temples. "We need a plan," he said, voice grim. The next days turned tense. They scoured listings for smaller apartments, worrying about whether any place would accept a dog. Lily's mother whispered about the possibility of rehoming Chance if it came down to a strict no-pets policy. Lily's chest tightened whenever she overheard such talk. She tried to remain hopeful, reasoning that they still had time, but each hour of searching seemed to end in dead ends, apartments too expensive or not allowing animals. Worse, Lily knew that if they moved somewhere extremely cramped, her father might seize on the excuse that there was no space for a dog. Despite the uncertainty, Lily continued her daily routine of caring for Chance. When she practiced commands, he responded with unwavering trust. Blissfully unaware of the family's predicament, each gentle wag of his tail reminded Lily of the promise she'd made. She refused to surrender him. She'd fight for him, the same way she'd once fought to get him treatment at the vet. It was a vow she repeated silently whenever discouragement crept in. Over the weekend, their father scheduled a real estate agent's appointment to view a modest apartment a few blocks away. Lily tagged along, heart pounding as they toured the small living room and single bathroom. The place was cleaner than she expected, but the lease explicitly banned pets. Thomas cast a glance at Lily, the weight of that rule hanging unspoken in the air. For a fleeting moment, Lily feared he'd sign the papers right then, sealing Chance's fate. But he only pressed his lips together and shook his head. Outside, her mother asked in a low voice, "You think we can push them to allow a small dog?" Thomas answered quietly, "It doesn't feel right. Let's keep looking." Lily clutched that small piece of hope. They did keep looking, trying to juggle finances, schedules, and Lily's father's limited patience for real estate brokers. Each place they visited seemed to have some reason it wouldn't work. Although the stress loomed, Lily marveled that the dog was no longer the scapegoat. There were no more rants about getting rid of it. Thomas might not offer affectionate pats yet, but he had stopped blaming chance. Even in turmoil, a seed of acceptance had taken root. Late one night, Lily stood on the balcony with Amanda, sipping cold water and gazing at the city lights. Amanda bumped her shoulder gently. "Things are tense, but I'm proud of you," she murmured. "Remember how you used to be scared to speak in front of class? Now you're braver, dealing with grown-up problems and fighting for that dog." Lily gazed into the distance, recalling the countless times she'd hidden behind her hair, too timid to engage with the world. Maybe adversity forced growth. Maybe compassion ignited courage. Either way, she felt resolute. She'd do whatever it took to protect Chance and keep her family together. When they finally returned inside, Lily found Chance awake, head tilted as though sensing her lingering worry. She crouched down, pressing her forehead to his. "No matter what happens, we're staying together," she whispered. He blinked, exhaling a soft breath that ruffled her hair. In that quiet moment, Lily realized how firmly her life was now intertwined with his. The battered stray she'd refused to abandon had become her source of strength, and perhaps, in an unexpected turn, a bridge connecting her father's guarded heart with a kinder world he'd been afraid to face. Days turned into a blur of frantic apartment hunting, and quiet nights spent with Chance dozing at Lily's feet. Despite the sense of doom creeping in with every rejection, Lily refused to give up. She plastered a determined smile on her face whenever her mother or father looked discouraged, and Amanda joined forces with Lily in scouring online listings. Sometimes, Lily overheard her parents speaking in low tones about finances, her father's voice tinged with guilt. He mentioned wishing he could pick up more overtime hours, though his schedule was already heavy. In those moments, Lily tried harder than ever to prove that keeping Chance was a choice worth fighting for. One afternoon, while Lily practiced leash training with Chance by the apartment building's side alley, she noticed her father leaning against the wall, arms folded. When she finished a short exercise in which Chance sat obediently at her command, she sensed him nod in approval. "I've been thinking," he said quietly, averting his gaze. "I never asked how you managed that bake sale project. You impressed a lot of people." Lily's cheeks warmed, caught off guard by the indirect compliment. She gave a small shrug. "I just wanted to help," she replied. Her father hesitated, then added, "Maybe you could do something like that again. For the rent, I mean." Lily blinked, uncertain whether he was being serious. "A fundraiser? For our family?" she asked, fiddling with Chance's leash. Thomas pressed his lips together. "Not exactly, but maybe something bigger, like an event for the building or a neighborhood drive. If we show we're invested in the community, the landlord might reconsider or offer a discount." He spoke haltingly, as though each idea cost him pride. Yet Lily felt an unexpected spark of excitement. Maybe this was a sign that her father finally believed in her ability to rally people for a cause. Perhaps they could combine the concept of helping others with their own need for stable housing. That night, Lily gathered the family in the living room, careful to keep the conversation calm. Chance lay quietly nearby, glancing up whenever voices rose. Lily's mother studied Thomas in disbelief when he shared his idea. "You really want Lily to organize another big event?" she asked, arms folded. Thomas shrugged stiffly, looking somewhat awkward. "She did well before. This might be a way to show the landlord we bring value to the community." Amanda perked up, nodding thoughtfully. "We could do a building-wide donation drive for a local charity, maybe hold a small fair in the courtyard. That might unite neighbors too." Lily marveled that they were brainstorming together rather than arguing. Encouraged by this rare harmony, Lily suggested they talk to the landlord personally, explaining their plan. If they demonstrated that their presence was an asset, one that fostered goodwill among tenants, maybe he would show leniency on rent, or at least offer them more time. Her mother, who had long disliked confrontation, still agreed to help. "I'll set up a meeting," she said, flipping through her phone contacts. "But we should have a concrete proposal ready." Lily volunteered to draft an outline, reminiscent of how she'd pitched the bake sale at school. Meanwhile, Amanda offered to handle the social media side, posting about the potential fair on neighborhood forums. The next days buzzed with activity. In between schoolwork and Chance's training, Lily carefully wrote up a proposal for what she tentatively called Neighbors Helping Neighbors. The idea was to host a weekend event in the apartment courtyard, inviting local charities to set up booths. Residents could donate goods, learn about volunteer opportunities, and enjoy simple entertainment. Live music by a tenant who played guitar, homemade crafts sold for charity, maybe even a kids' corner with face painting. Amanda, excited by the concept, created digital flyers and posted them on social networks, encouraging neighbors to get involved. By midweek, a handful of residents had already expressed interest. Throughout it all, Lily stayed attuned to the undercurrent of worry. Even if the landlord agreed to consider their proposal, there was no guarantee he'd lower the rent or allow them to remain long-term. Yet Lily dared to hope. Each moment she spent coaxing Chance through a new trick or greeting a curious neighbor felt like a testament to what she could accomplish by refusing to ignore need. It reminded her of the day she found Chance, overlooked by everyone else in the park. Had she walked away, none of this would have happened. Whenever doubt crept in, she held on to that memory as proof that one person could spark meaningful change. Finally, the day came for them to present the plan to Mr. Henley, the landlord. He agreed to meet in the apartment's main lobby. Lily's father tried to take charge at first, but his nerves showed in the taut set of his jaw. Sensing his hesitation, Lily opened her folder of documents and gently took the lead. She spoke in a level tone, explaining how Neighbors Helping Neighbors could improve tenant morale and attract positive attention to the building. Amanda chimed in with her marketing approach, and their mother added practical points about safety and noise regulations. Mr. Henley, a slim man with sharp features, listened without interruption, tapping a pen against his notepad. When Lily finished, Mr. Henley flipped through the papers, eyes narrowing. "I appreciate your enthusiasm," he said, "but I'm running a business. Even if this event does well, I still have overhead costs. I can't just give a discount to one family." Lily's chest tightened, but she forced herself to stay composed. "We understand," she said, "but maybe there's a compromise. If the event shows that residents are happier and turnover decreases, that benefits everyone. You might fill vacant units faster if the building has a good reputation." Her father cleared his throat, adding, "And with the right publicity, maybe you'll gain free advertising." Mr. Henley's expression softened slightly, though he remained cautious. In the end, Mr. Henley agreed to let them host Neighbors Helping Neighbors in 2 weeks, on the condition that it wouldn't disrupt other tenants. He made no firm promises about reducing rent, but said he'd reevaluate after seeing the results. Though not a guaranteed victory, Lily's family left the meeting buoyed by a fragile sense of possibility. Lily clutched her folder with both hands as they rode the elevator back up, exchanging anxious smiles. "It's all on us then," Amanda remarked. Their mother nodded, tension and hope flickering across her face. "Let's do our best. At least he's listening." Their father stood quietly, lips pressed, but Lily noticed a flicker of pride in his eyes. Over the following week, Lily poured her heart into organizing every detail, enlisting school friends to help create homemade decorations, and coordinate mini activities for children. Amanda secured a local DJ to provide music, while Lily's mother arranged for a small refreshment stand. Each evening, Lily practiced commands with Chance, imagining him greeting visitors at the fair. On one particularly hopeful afternoon, Lily's father surprised her by asking if there was a way he could assist. Unsure how to respond, Lily suggested he handle logistics like scheduling or equipment rental. He agreed, his guarded expression hinting at reluctant curiosity. As the event approached, Lily sensed the weight of expectation resting on her. Each night she lay awake imagining worst-case scenarios. What if no one came? What if the landlord dismissed their efforts? Whenever fear crept in, she'd find comfort stroking Chance's fur, recalling how no one believed in him before she intervened. This time she wasn't alone. Her family worked as a team, neighbors shared the news, and the courtyard would soon bustle with activity. Lily believed that by uniting for a common cause, they might pull off a miracle. By Saturday morning, the courtyard was buzzing with anticipation. Neighbors who hardly spoke were setting up folding chairs, tables, and banners proclaiming "Neighbors helping neighbors." Lily tacked up a bright poster showcasing local charities. Across from her, Amanda prepared a refreshment stand with lemonade. Lily felt that old nervousness, but reminded herself of the bake sale triumph. As the sun rose higher, residents trickled out carrying canned goods or bringing children eager for face painting. Music drifted from a small speaker, courtesy of a teen on the third floor. Lily spotted her father, Thomas, helping assemble a small stage for a local guitarist. She felt a glow of pride, noting how far they'd all come. Lily stepped back to admire the courtyard's transformation. Balloons bobbed, tables stood heavy with flyers, and the smell of fresh pastries drifted through the air. She spotted her mother chatting with Mr. Henley, who looked guarded yet impressed. Children played hopscotch while neighbors sipped lemonade, laughing in ways Lily had never seen before. At a display table, Lily showed photos of local charities, plus images of Chance, once injured, now healthier. Passers-by paused, praising her rescue story. Lily's smile widened whenever someone recognized the dog's progress. She directed them to Amanda, who kept Chance calmly near the refreshment stand. The sense of unity felt surreal but thrilling. By midday, the courtyard bustled. A food bank rep thanked everyone for their donations, and another speaker outlined volunteer roles for a literacy program. The rescue shelter's booth drew interest from neighbors curious about fostering. Lily floated between tables, greeting people. Dr. Moreno arrived, recalling how Lily once worried about Chance's future. Nearby, Thomas helped adjust the amplifier's wiring, no longer a distant onlooker. Lily realized this event was widening the cracks in her father's walls, letting in genuine warmth. Seeing him quietly serve lemonade to children made her beam with pride. After lunch, Lily faced her biggest dread: a short speech. Amanda handed her the microphone. Lily's heart pounded as faces turned toward her. She breathed deeply, recalling the day she found Chance. "Thank you for coming," she said. "We created Neighbors Helping Neighbors to show we can unite for good. It's for the food bank, the rescue shelter, and our own community." She glanced at Chance, feeling a surge of courage. "I used to be too shy to speak, but caring about a cause changed that. Together, we make this building feel like a real home." Applause rippled, with Thomas clapping from the back. The afternoon overflowed with activity. A raffle distributed homemade cookies, a local guitarist played soft melodies, and kids lined up for face painting. The rescue shelter rep grinned each time someone signed up to foster. Lily walked Chance around, letting neighbors meet the gentle dog whose transformation inspired her. Mr. Henley stood near the refreshments, sampling brownies. Though guarded, he seemed swayed by the friendly atmosphere. Lily hoped this display of unity would convince him to reconsider the rent hike. As the sun began to dip, Mr. Henley addressed the crowd. "I'm impressed," he said, surveying the booths. "An apartment can be more than units. It can be a community." Applause broke out. "I can't make promises," he added, "but I see how good tenants bring value. We'll talk about rent soon." Relief swept over Lily. Thomas exhaled, shoulders relaxing. As the crowd dispersed, Lily's family gathered near the makeshift stage, exhausted yet triumphant. Chance nosed her leg and Lily bent to pat him, feeling tears of gratitude. Her father offered a faint smile. "You did good," he murmured. For the first time, Lily sensed hope that they'd remain together, dog and all. That evening, once the courtyard emptied, the family lugged leftover supplies upstairs. Amanda flopped onto the couch, groaning about sore feet. Their mother placed the last box of cups on the kitchen counter and sank into a chair, glancing through the donation tally. "We did well," she reported. "The charities received a good amount, and the feedback was positive." Lily set Chance's leash aside, letting him settle on his blanket. Her father leaned against the table, arms crossed in an almost habitual stance. But something in his posture had softened. "I never expected all this," he admitted quietly. "Seeing everyone come together was nice. Makes me think we've been missing out on that sense of community." Lily's mother stood and slipped an arm around his shoulders. "Yes, but it's never too late," she said, giving him a gentle smile. Amanda joined them, beaming despite her fatigue. Lily hung back, watching her family in an unspoken circle of relief. Chance lifted his head, as though sensing the collective mood. Lily stepped forward and scratched behind his ear, remembering the scrawny, terrified stray he'd been such a short time ago. A tear threatened to roll down her cheek. If one small act of kindness had led them here, maybe the next step would bring even greater unity. Monday arrived and Lily woke with a swirl of anticipation. Mr. Henley had promised to speak with them about rent negotiations. Her father left early for work. Her mother resumed searching for backup apartments, and Lily trudged off to school, trying not to worry. All day she felt a persistent flutter in her stomach, unable to concentrate fully on her classes. When final bell rang, she rushed home, hoping for news. She found her mother in the kitchen, a thoughtful expression on her face. "He called," she said softly. "He wants to keep the rent increase, but he's offering us a grace period and a possible reduction if the building's occupancy improves by year's end." Lily's heart sank at first, but then steadied. "So we don't have to move right now?" she asked. Her mother shook her head. "No, we've got time, and if more units fill up, maybe because people see this as a friendly place, he might bring our rent back down." Relief washed over Lily. It wasn't a perfect resolution, but it gave them breathing room. She patted Chance, who looked up at her with trusting eyes. "We'll make this work," she murmured, fiercely determined to keep the life they'd built together. In the weeks that followed, life found a calmer rhythm. The building's sense of community lingered after the event, with neighbors occasionally chatting in the halls or organizing small potlucks. Lily noticed a few new tenants moving into once vacant units, drawn by word of mouth about the building's welcoming atmosphere. She hoped each arrival brought them closer to that occupancy goal. Meanwhile, Chance's training continued, and Lily's father even joined them at the park for a practice session. Though he stayed quiet, Lily saw how he watched Chance navigate the cones, occasionally offering a grunt of approval. The day Chance finally hurdled a low bar without stumbling, Thomas allowed a brief smile. "He's come a long way," he said. Lily couldn't resist teasing back. "So have we." When the landlord rechecked the occupancy figures, he found an uptick, and though he didn't officially lower the rent yet, he hinted they might see more flexibility soon. Lily's mother breathed easier, and Amanda resumed her normal routine. As for Lily, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Chance had sparked a profound chain reaction. reminding her how empathy could reshape not just one family, but an entire community. And somehow, in healing him, she was healing herself too.